Di nuovo, buongiorno, eccoci qui.
Good morning. We can finally start this 15th edition of the forum with these peculiar characteristics this year. It's a new situation, and so I kindly invite up here on the stage the Vice Prime Minister of the Republic of Azerbaijan, hosting us, such an interesting and important country, more than ever at this time in terms of relations in this wide area and at the global level as well. Azerbaijan has been playing an important role, a role that is continuing to grow. It is playing a central role in the development in the field of energy. So I kindly ask Mr. Shahin Mustafayev to join us here on stage for a first welcome to this first day of the 15th Verona Forum.
Vice Primo Ministro.
The Deputy Prime Minister of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Shahin Mustafayev.
Hörmətli forum iştirakçıları, hörmətli həmkarlar, xanımlar və cənablar, Azərbaycan paytaxtında 15-ci Verona Evrasiya İqtisadi Forumunda hər birinizi salamlayıram.
Non sto uscendo niente.
Əminəm ki, bugünkü forum Avrasiya məkanında hərtərəfli əməkdaşlığın aktual aspektlərinin müzakirəsinə mühüm töhfə verəcəkdir. Mövcud olduğu
Hanno occupato l'italiano, non traducono niente. Ok.
Humanitar, mədəni və digər sahələrdə əlaqələrin inkişaf etdirilməsi imkanları müzakirə edilən səmərəli bir platformaya çevrilmişdir.
Now, welcome to this very important platform.
Məsələlərin müzakirə olunduğu mötəbər ictimai, siyasi və mədəni tədbirlərin təşkilində zəngin təcrübəsi var.
So thank you. We are here and we're very happy. We know that Azerbaijan has been playing a very important role in the world as a reference point in cultural and political terms. Our country also is very important as a partner for many other countries. I hope that this forum will open up new economic doors, and I hope that it will also contribute to the development of economic exchanges. In the last few years, the world has had to face the challenge of COVID. The pandemic has created new challenges for the entire world. And Azerbaijan, in this context, has played its role and has given its contribution to ensure safety and also to ensure economic security. Azerbaijan is consolidating its relations with many countries in the world. For instance, in the field of transport, we are participating in many regional development projects. Azerbaijan is both the leader of some projects and the participant of many others. I could mention the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan, which is being developing, and the projects are continuing to grow. We can see some negative trends in the economic world right now, but still Azerbaijan is obtaining positive results despite the negative context. This year, Azerbaijan has increased by 5.6% its oil production. Exports have also grown. In fact, it's doubled. We've now reached 74%. As for our GDP, we've reached 11% growth. In this Eurasian Forum, Italy and Russia are important partners of Azerbaijan. We have many projects underway, many social projects as well, which confirm the important and priority role that our country is playing in Azerbaijan. Innovation, financial stability, the development of the economy, the recovery of the territories freed from occupations are our priorities. The economic strategy 2022-2026 has been recently approved. The GDP over this span of time will increase by 1.2%. In the oil sector, we foreshadow an increase by 1.4%. As for the energy security, which has always been very important for us, well, in this field, Azerbaijan is guaranteeing and ensuring the energy security of many countries. The role of Azerbaijan in ensuring energy security is paramount. In its surrounding region and beyond. One of the priorities in our economy is green energy. We have great opportunities to produce green energy. We have already 17 of our energy production covered by green energy, but our goal is to grow to 30%. We would like our country to become a green country, and so it is our intention to be more focused on the consumption of green energy. In recovered territories, we're also exploring the opportunity to produce energy. 10,000 megawatts, this is the potential. We again can use the sources of the Caspian Sea to produce energy, keeping in mind that the shift to green energy is very important, and for this reason Azerbaijan is open to all kinds of cooperation in the field. Another very important sector is that of logistics. Again, after COVID, we are faced with many challenges in the field of logistics. After the COVID pandemic, we felt the need to review the logistic processes in the Caspian Sea area. Azerbaijan is part of very important transport hubs. The transit volume in Azerbaijan in the first 9 months of 2022 reached 65%. In the freight transport, we would like to increase the dynamism of the logistics, and so it is our goal to achieve 500,000 tons. We're also planning to build 2 new terminals for the transport of minerals and ore. The largest fleet in the Caspian Sea belongs to Azerbaijan. In Azerbaijan, we are able to build new ships together with our partners. We've also built the railway Baku-Tbilisi-Baks, which crosses Azerbaijan, Georgia and Turkey. Thanks to this railway, the freight transport will achieve 5,000 tons. In order to increase the dynamism of transportation, it is also very important to improve our modes of transport. In recent years, we've been working especially on the north to south connection projects. I'm referring in particular to the works that are being carried out in Russia. This is a very important infrastructure. We've also been working on highways and railways. We're also discussing the weaknesses of our network, and therefore we've prepared a new working plan, also taking into account the increase in costs. Yesterday, we had the opportunity to take a look at the monitoring activities at the border with Russia, and we've seen the increase in the flows of people crossing the border, so we discussed the opportunities for cooperation in this field as well to increase the number of crossing points. In the first 9 months of 2022, we organized a meeting with Iran, Russia, and Azerbaijan. On that occasion, we signed a declaration, the Declaration of Baku, and we are planning to achieve 15,000 goods until 2030. You also need to add sea transportation, and to organize these transports, we've set up some working groups. The next session, the next meeting, will be organized in Russia. That is the plan. We want to give our contribution to the well-being of Eurasia and to the future of Eurasia. After the territories of Azerbaijan were freed, we could access new perspectives, new transport ways, which meet the needs of many countries. New roads will also cross Iran, and that will further consolidate the cooperation among countries in the region. We are also planning to build new bridges. The road is now being built. We plan to finish it by 2024. It will not cross Armenia, but we will go through Iran instead. Azerbaijan is promoting the building of the Zengezur corridor. Azerbaijan is working on many new projects. We built the Horadiz-Arben highway, 124 kilometers in length. Many other highways are connected to the Horazin-Arben highway, thus creating a very important network. In order to decrease the costs to cross borders, we are working on many projects aimed at this purpose. We've been discussing many different declarations with other countries, but Armenia is not participating actively. Based on the joint declaration, the highway that crosses Armenia is under the control of Russia. We need to involve Armenia, though, to make sure that the project can be realized. In 2020, after the joint declaration, we planned the creation of 2 checkpoints These play a very important role. These are crossing points and they are fundamental for the transport of goods. Unfortunately, they need some improvement in the way they've been built. Now, the roads I've been talking about can only be opened with the agreement of all 3 parties. Unfortunately, we haven't received any proposal from one of the parties. According to the joint declaration signed on November 9th, Armenia, well, it did not present the project and it did not present any proposal to Azerbaijan. So the limited contribution of the Armenian part is hindering the development of the process and the project. Armenia is not implementing the points of the joint declaration. Azerbaijan has a crucial role in the development of the Eurasian territory. It is working on projects aimed at improving the well-being of its people, and I hope that our country can continue to give its contribution for the progress and well-being of this region. I thank you very much and I wish you a very successful meeting. Thank you.
C'è Primo Ministro dell'Azerbaigian Mustafayev.
Thank you to the Minister for Azerbaijan, who's introduced some very important elements on the dynamics in the field of energy. We are seeing an extraordinary acceleration in the field. Also, according to the forecast of a few months ago. Now let's hear it from the Deputy Prime Minister of the Russian Federation, Alexei Overchuk. Let's hear from him how this dynamic is developing in this part of the world, and let's hear about the role that Russia can play in such an important situation. So I kindly invite up here the Deputy Prime Minister of the Russian Federation, Alexei Overchuk. Please come up to the stage to take the floor. And once again, let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Извините. Доброе утро, уважаемые участники форума. В первую очередь хотел бы...
Well, thank you to our Azerbaijani friends for their hospitality, and thank you for giving us this room for the forum. I also would like to thank Professor Faliko for his enthusiasm, his optimism. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for his effort and enthusiasm. The Verona Forum should take place in Verona, in Italy, as its name says, and as it happened until last year. However, the policy of erasing Russia and the support of the European Union to the governments that ban the study of Russian led this forum to leave Italy. I hope that sooner or later the Europeans can find the true reasons of the current tragedies. But for now, as for the contacts between Europe and Russia, well, we don't see any of these meetings anymore. So our forum here is particularly important. There's no direct flight connections. The airspace is closed on both sides. Sea communications are degrading, are becoming worse. Truck drivers are leaving their goods at the border, where then the goods are transferred to other cargoes, and railway connections don't really exist. As for energy, only a minimum part of the energy supply connects us to Europe, because the connections have either been bombed or there's sanctions, and this is the Europe in the 21st century. I think it would be very interesting to use this unique meeting to discuss where we can go, and maybe we could also discuss the consequences of this break between Europe and Russia. Up until a short time ago, it seemed as if the idea of Eurasia from Lisbon to Vladivostok, well, it seemed reality. As for Russia, well, we are facing the crisis much better as the Western designers were expecting. In 2022, we expect an increase by 2.9% of our GDP. Sorry, of inflation. The increase of inflation that is expected is 2.9%. Unemployment has reached 3.1%, which is a negative record. We are a country that has great resources. We have no shortage of cheap energy. We ensure the food security of Russia and our neighboring countries as well. We have talented people, and this allows us to autonomously build our own future. Now, the Eurasian Forum here in Baku is a sign that tells us that we are shifting from a global east-west system to a north-south system. We are beginning to feel like Northern Eurasia, and this is how we are building the new logics of our development. Our investments are aimed at ensuring the transport connections with our continent. Here in the Trans-Caspian region, this is particularly felt. It's no chance, therefore, that we've chosen Baku for this forum. Here, on the Caspian Sea and around it, we are building the Trans-Caspian corridor that goes from north to south with three main directions. The first directive goes through the northern coast with Uzbekistan, Iran, going towards the Persian Gulf, and so it looks at India, Pakistan, and Eastern Asia as markets, and from there to Africa. That's our export markets, our main export markets. The second corridor is a maritime one and ensures connections between the ports of the Caspian Sea. And then we have a third connection that goes through Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Iran, once again. And this, again, is a route that's been tested with a train, and it's brought our goods to India. The first and third routes also ensure the communications for road transport. We can have access to Iranian ports with all that entails. So we are increasing our transport volumes so that they can match the expected freight transport forecast. I got to Baku yesterday, but we drove by car to get here. And so we could see how the highway from Makachkala is being built to the border, as we already mentioned today. This is a very important project. We also had the chance to look at what is happening at the access points. They are being modernized, and we will continue to expand our access points, our passport control points. We are restructuring the Volga Trans-Caspian connections and the ports on the Caspian Sea. And once again, we are going to develop the logistic terminals in Iran. We would like to invest in the building of 160 kilometers that are still missing in the railway between Iran and Azerbaijan. And this will ensure a direct connection with the railway from here to the Baltic Sea. Of course, for fertilizers, grains, and other goods, we are actively negotiating to increase and accelerate the building of ships, including cruise ships, by the way. And we will work together, Russia, Azerbaijan, and Turkmenistan. This is only part of the activities that are currently happening. We're also working on the eastern side, looking at China. As for our pipelines, we've increased the gas supply to China through Siberia. We are building the Siberia 2 port through Mongolia. These are massive investments. We are also implementing an important reorientation. We are talking to India, Pakistan, Afghanistan as well in terms of gas supply. These are all highly densely populated countries with a rapidly developing economy. And we are not trying to take advantage of the current situation. We are looking at long-term relations so that suppliers and buyers can rely on stability and can grow in a context of stability. So these are all investments that are already being implemented with a long-term view. Looking at the program of the forum, we will certainly have the chance during these 2 days to further talk about these topics. And so I wish all the participants a constructive forum and a fruitful exchange of opinions. Thank you very much.
Il Vice Primo Ministro.
Well, thank you very much to Alexei Overchuk, Deputy Prime Minister of the Russian Federation. He explained how complex this current moment is. He mentioned the conflict that is between Russia and Europe, and explained what is the reaction of the Russian Federation. He mentioned the reorientation of priorities and of the main routes that of Russian energy towards Eurasia, or a greater Eurasia, we might even say, without any doubt, because it is an energy political and geopolitical entity. We've heard the names of all the countries involved in these new developments. The Deputy Prime Minister also mentioned Professor Antonio Fallico's courage, the courage he showed when deciding to organize this edition of the forum anyway. The forum enables us to have an important view on the Eurasia. We now hear from Rosneft, the CEO of Rosneft. He's also the Vice President of the Board of Directors. I would like to bring us the greeting from the Russian Federation. Now, the floor, Mr. Sechin.
Представляю, приветствую президента Российской Федерации Владимира.
At this point, I would like to read the greeting message sent from the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, to all participants and guests of this 15th Eurasian Economic Forum. Dear friends, I'd like to extend my greetings for the organization of the Eurasian Economic Forum in its 15th edition, this year dedicated to cooperation in the Eurasian space. For the first time, the forum is taking place in the ancient and very beautiful capital of Azerbaijan, Baku, which is at the crossroads between Asia and Europe and has a great potential thanks to all the peoples inhabiting it. In its 15 years of existence, the Verona Forum has acquired the status of a very serious and important arena for discussing cooperation in the Eurasian space, with the participation of politicians, top managers, diplomats and journalists from many countries. This dialogue, it's an open one. It's very important, especially now when the world is undergoing a deep change. The world is looking for a multipolar and much fairer new order. Every year we see new economic centers developing, new groups are forming, and in these conditions cooperation between states is based on the idea of reciprocal and mutual respect. Russia, in its future, would like to put out great efforts to create a joint space of peace and prosperity in the Eurasian space. I'm sure that this edition of the forum will be successful, and I'm sure that the Verona Forum will be able to discuss the current situation and will allow us to have a better view on the current situation, but also look at the future and see new models for the relations between states and new forms of integration. I wish you a fruitful forum. Signed, Vladimir Putin.
Grazie a Igor Sechin, che
Thank you, Mr. Sechin. We will give him the floor in a few minutes. He will be able to discuss some of the specific topics of the special session, which is about to begin. But in the meantime, we stay on this idea and the ability to create innovative strategies.
Ok, allora c'è una variazione.
So there has been a change of plan in the order of our speakers. So at this point, talking about the development of these innovative strategies, we were saying, as regards the production and distribution of fundamental resources for the development of states at large. We heard some of these states mentioned that are very important from a population point of view, and they're important for the whole concept of Eurasian. And so we now leave the floor to the Minister of the Economic Development of the Russian Federation, Maxim Rezhnikov. He will talk about the development or the input that Moscow would like to give to this new complex phase in international relations. So we'll leave the floor to the Minister.
Доброе утро, уважаемые коллеги, дорогие друзья.
Dear colleagues, dear friends, good morning. So for the first time, this forum is taking place in Baku, and this is a recognition of the growing importance of Azerbaijan in the international arena and the importance of all the change and development in the economic potential of the country. Of course, now more than ever, initiatives like this one are very important, fostering an open dialogue between the countries that are ready to increase international cooperation. Right now, we are going through a deep change, and despite the volatility of the international situation, every state in the Eurasian space has new opportunities and new perspectives. But in order to seize all of these opportunities, we need a collective approach, especially in terms of economic cooperation. The Russian Federation would like to propose new approaches based on the great partnership between the Eurasian partnership brought forward already in 2015 by the president of our country. We are focusing on this great Eurasian partnership that can bring advantages to all the big players of the continent, all countries, creating large networks of free trade partnership and integration projects all over the continent. So what are the main goals? First of all, we aim at getting rid of all the commercial barriers and ensuring a free circulation of goods, labor and people. Secondly, it is important to diversify logistics routes and our corridors for transport. Mr. Overchuk already mentioned about this north-south route, which is just one example. There are many other examples towards east. The third point is the high-tech sector. In the interest of our countries, we would like to close this process within Eurasia and create regardless international reserve currencies, create new currencies, because right now this is a brake on international trade. We'd like to create a new financial communication system, and we would like to increase the acceptability of national credit cards. But we also need commercial services in terms of tourism, but also insurance, financial operations. So generally speaking, we would like to see an environment, also a legal environment, enabling us to create these new networks. Russia is not only ready, but it's already actively working on all these points. because our economy is very solid. Since 2014, we have learned to live and develop with sanctions. So the internal and the foreign markets have rapidly adapted to the situation. So we've focused on opening up our markets and worked for free trade and to overcome all barriers for internally and externally. And our current figures that were mentioned by Deputy Prime Minister Overchuk show that this has been a very far-sighted choice. So the situation is stable. We are carrying out a restructuring of economic and commercial relations, and based on our figures we can say that our process is active and it's even faster than expected. So the situation is getting more stable also in terms of the inflation. This will enable us to keep interest rates low in our budget policies, and right now our goal is to achieve growth. For next year, the expectation is still of a negative trend based on the first trimester of this year, but at the end of this year we should see some growth already. So in 2024-25 our GDP will grow by more than 2.5% thanks to the internal demand growth, which is in turn linked to the policies of the government and the central bank, which means the development of logistic infrastructures, technological sovereignty, the increase of imports and support to private investments, and the development of the financial market. A priority is to increase cooperation with partners, as it's happening in the Eurasian space. In these years, we have created an important integration, and we see that trade and commerce have increased by more than 5% last year in the EU-EEA, and basically all countries have had a more positive situation than expected. So we are moving from the development of industrial cooperation and trade cooperation. We are working on more than 160 industrial cooperation projects. And we are working on a new mechanism to give financial support to cooperation projects. We are also working on projects on the development of logistics and infrastructures in the EU-EEA. This is the Trans-Express project, focusing on railways, with the interaction and the synergy between our customs services, control authorities in our countries, and this will enable us to increase the volume of goods transports. We are in favor of this experience, and we have a larger point of view. First of all, focusing on development and the increase of free trade areas, not just in the EU-EEA area that is already in place with Vietnam and Iran. We are currently negotiating with Egypt, Serbia, Indonesia, India, and Mongolia, and the UEEA and United Arab Emirates. So we need to integrate SOC, EU-EEA, the new Chinese Silk Road. So all of these are integration projects that will bring about advantages to all our citizens and our businesses, striking a balance between all interests. And of course, we are ready to discuss all this. Thank you for your attention.
Grazie alla
Thank you to the Minister of the Economic Development, Maskim Reshetnikov. And we will now leave the floor to representative of Azerbaijan to listen to the analysis of the Vice Minister of the Economy of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Shahib Mamadov.
Hörmətli forum iştirakçıları, hörmətli xanımlar və cənablar.
Dear forum participants, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to greet you and welcome you to Baku. And in this Eurasian Economic Forum, I like to express my happiness to be here with you in this event. A warm welcome to our country in this 15th Eurasian Economic Forum. We have to consider many challenges, but the forum is a great platform for economic dialogue. And I'm sure that all the opinions that will be exchanged in this forum will give a great contribution to the world economy. We are aware of the crisis, the new waves and new challenges we are facing in 2021 due to COVID. All countries' economies had negative results, and new risks arose in foreign markets. These are important risks for the whole international economy. On this point of view, the problem of energy security are always at the center of attention, as well as climate change that is also creating threats. We also have threats in terms of food security. So the whole world economy is facing a difficult time.
Artıma nail olunmasının önemini
I really hope that possibilities and solutions will be offered by this forum to solve all the problems we just mentioned. In 2021, in 2001, developed countries reached 5.2% of growth, whereas for developing countries was around 3.7%. Based on the World Bank report published in June, prices are set to grow up to 2.7% at the global level.
ulaşdırılmasına nail olunmalı. Davamlı və tarazlı inkişaf amilləri daim dəstəklənməlidir. Bu kontekstdə rəqəmsal iqtisadiyyatı genişləndirmək və 4-cü sənaye inqilabı
In this context, the development of the digital economy is one of the main priorities. The digitalization of the world is a guarantee for development.
perspektivləri yüksək
The use of digital technologies will bring about more need for human capital, which in turn will increase well-being. This is one of the priorities for the economy now.
azalan təbii ehtiyatlar və artan tələbat fonunda dayanıqlı inkişafa nail olmaq üçün
Pollution and natural resources depletion and the switch to green energies are one of our working priorities. Innovative technologies will be important tools to change to green energy, and green technology, which is one of the main links of this chain. We are striving to diversify our economy. We are promoting the digital ecosystem. And all of these factors will bring about the development of our country. In Azerbaijan, the national economy is based on the traditional development. Integration is one of our main goals.
Belə ki, 2022-ci ilin 9 ay ərzində Azərbaycanda
Facing new challenges will entail also a growth in GDP, which increased by 5.6% over last year. Several projects for diversification have been brought about, which created 10 to 11% of growth in sectors different from the oil sector. And exports increased by double, 17%. And in the commerce sector increased by $40 billion in terms of foreign trade. So the Azerbaijan economy is adapting to the great world challenges, and from this point of view, it's important to develop a new approach. Dear participants and guests, the result of or thanks to all the projects I just mentioned, things are improving. Administrative procedures are getting simpler. The goal is to support entrepreneurs. All procedures are being facilitated, and we are promoting investments. We are offering support to entrepreneurs who would like to invest in several sectors. Between January and September, in non-oil sectors have seen an increase in investments. The geopolitical position of our country means that we are a hub in between Europe and Asia. It means we have an important role. We are also on the Silk Road. So we've always had this crucial role in the several economic projects we have underway. We have built railways, highways, and at international levels. We have built an international port in Baku, which increases the economic potential of our country. Alat also plays a very important role as a free zone in terms of Azerbaijan becoming a hub. We would like to take advantage of the results of this fourth revolution, and I'd like to underline the fact that we are ready to face all of these challenges. And in our report to the European Union, we have underlined all of these results, and our entrepreneurs have underlined all the projects carried out in Azerbaijan. Our territories were freed, and this created possibilities to increase cooperation. Karabakh offers great opportunities for investment, attracting the interest of investors from different countries. Several airports were built. For example, the Fizuli airport was built in 8 months. We started working at the Zengilan corridor. For the first time, refugees went back to the Zangalan region. We have great economic expectations in terms of this region.
Sosial sığorta və digər göstəricilərin tətbiqi nəzərdə tutulur. İşğaldan azad olunmuş ərazilərimizin zəngin resursları yaşıl iqtisadiyyatın inkişafına töhfə verir və
freed areas are rich in resources, and they will play a role in the switch to green energy, which will create a green area in Karabakh, giving its contribution to the health of the region. After those territories were freed from occupation, new opportunities arose in terms of logistics and transport. And from this point of view, the Zangezur corridor will play an important role, opening up new horizons for cooperation. I hope that our relationships and our participation in this forum will create new opportunities to get to know each other, exchange ideas, and create new cooperation opportunities too. Thank you very much.
La parola all'ideatore del forum.
Now the floor goes to the organizer of this edition, Professor Antonio Fallico, President and founder of the association Conoscere Eurasia, and we are here in one of the hearts of Eurasia.
Gentile signore e signori.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I cannot find the words to express my joy and gratitude for being here in this prestigious hall in beautiful and welcoming Baku. This is the first time after 14 years that our annual Eurasian Economic Forum is not held in Verona. It was not easy to organize it off-site, so I'm particularly grateful to Azerbaijan, its authorities, and the business organizations for welcoming us here. In particular, I express my deep gratitude to Shakim Mustafayev, the Deputy Prime Minister, and the Ministry of Economy and Minister Mikhail Jabarov for their support and help in organizing our forum. The energy and human warmth that I can feel here in Baku make me feel at home. For us Italians, and for me in particular, it is right and proper to remember and honor the many Azerbaijani partisans who lost their lives to free Italy from Nazi fascism, such as, for example, the legendary Mehdi Husseinzadeh, known as Mikhailo. still living in Verona today are the great-grandchildren of the Talibovs and the Rasulovs, Azerbaijani partisans who at the time settled permanently in the Veneto region for family reasons. Azerbaijan boasts a world record that until now has been attributed to the United States. The world's first oil well was drilled here on the Absheron Peninsula in 1837, where the first refinery was also built, exactly 22 years before the well drilled in 1859 in Pennsylvania. Dear friends, I must thank the authorities, the speakers, chairpersons, journalists, interpreters, partners, sponsors, and the staff and the volunteers of the many organizations who have made our initiative possible. I extend a grateful and warm welcome to the many participants in this event from nearly 40 countries who have found a way to be here despite all the difficulties posed by the current international situation. I express my sincerest gratitude to the First Deputy Minister of the Russian Federation and Maxim Reshetnikov, Minister of Economic Development of the Russian Federation. I also would like to express my sincerest gratitude to the President of our forum, Igor Sechin, for his unwavering and constant support for this initiative, which was created to foster an open and constructive dialogue to help build a human-centered economy and a multipolar world based on peace. Holding the Verona Forum in Baku is not an incidental or a conjunctural choice. Instead, it is the beginning of a new phase in the development of our own forum, which has now reached maturity and on whose ambition is to foreshadow the fundamental role that the Eurasian mega-region can play in the short and medium term for the economic and social development of the world. Why Baku? Well, because historically and culturally it lies at the center of the space between the Atlantic and the Pacific, because geopolitically it joins Asia and Europe, the old and the new Silk Road, and because Azerbaijan is the crossroads of trade between Europe and China, South Asia and Russia. For decades, Azerbaijan, the cradle of two civilizations, the Turanian and the Persian ones, has pursued a multicultural, multilateral policy of tolerance and acceptance, proactively and constructively cooperating with countries belonging to different geopolitical and state systems. Azerbaijan has had a partnership and cooperation agreement with the European Union since 1999. In 2007, negotiations for a stronger agreement, including cooperation on economic diversification, trade and the development of civil society, were launched. Projects are being launched to upgrade the port of Baku, to support the competitiveness of 25,000 startups and SMEs, to provide access to credit for companies in the food sector, and to ensure the environmental sustainability of urban areas. In 2019, a high-level EU-Azerbaijan dialogue was launched on transport, one of the key areas of cooperation. Of crucial importance to the entire European Union is the Memorandum of Understanding on Strategic Partnership in the field of energy, signed on July 18th last year in Baku by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev. Italy and Azerbaijan are historic partners. Their relationship, which dates back to the time of Emperor Domitian, has intensified during the past 30 years of official diplomatic relations. Italy is Azerbaijan's largest trading partner by far. Since 2013, 51.9% of Azerbaijan's exports have been to Italy. Since the end of 2020, with the start of the Trans-Adriatic pipeline, in addition to supplying its own domestic market, Italy has become the bridge to the West for Azerbaijani's gas. And in the political sphere, there is no doubt that Italy is one of Azerbaijan's main European interlocutors. In this regard, I would like to recall the friendly relations between Azerbaijan and Italy even during the Cold War years. An obvious example of this is the twinning between Baku and Naples, which was solemnly signed on September 25, 1972, in the Sala dei Baroni of the Maschio Angioino by the then mayors Aydin Yusuf Mamedov and Gerardo De Michele, who dedicated a street to the capital of Azerbaijan. The 10th anniversary of the twinning was celebrated on July 5th in Baku. On that occasion, a street was dedicated to Naples in the presence of a large delegation from Naples headed by Maurizio Valenzi, mayor of the city at the time. Still active today is the Naples-Baku Friendship Association, whose president is here with us. As for the relations between Azerbaijan and Russia, their cooperation in the energy field, one of the cornerstones of bilateral relations, has been further strengthened and expanded. In this context, it is worth mentioning the importance of the Declaration of Allied Interaction signed in Moscow on February 23, 2022 by Vladimir Putin and Ilham Aliyev. The two countries agreed to expand their political and economic cooperation and develop their interaction in a spirit of mutual respect and consideration of mutual interests. Azerbaijan also boasts a special partnership with the Turkish-speaking world and Turkey. The two countries are often described as one nation and two states. In August 2010, their president signed an agreement on strategic partnership and mutual support. Baku also maintains very positive and beneficial political, economic, trade and investment relations with Washington, with the United States. At the same time, Azerbaijan is integrated into the Commonwealth of Independent States and maintains constructive and friendly relations with the countries of the Eurasian Economic Union. The recent joint declaration with the UEEA gives access to many projects developed by this union. Azerbaijan's relations with China, ASEAN and other Asian countries and structures are also expanding rapidly. This gives Azerbaijan the opportunity to grow, being one of the rapidly developing economies in the world. In 2021, despite the negative international economic situation, its GDP grew by 27.94%, from $42.69 billion to $54.62 billion. This year, despite the still negative international economic context, it is expected to grow significantly. All this makes Baku an attractive destination for economic and trade relations and for investors. The famous incipit of Ali and Nino, the most important novel of the 20th century associated with Azerbaijan, well, that novel already outlined the geographical and symbolic belonging of Azerbaijan to both the West and the East, which coexist in its identity. Universal themes such as the reconciliation of diversity come to the fore. Kurban Said starts his novel with a meaningful sentence spoken by a schoolmaster who addresses his students. He says, "It can be said, children, that it is our responsibility to decide whether Baku should belong to Europe or Asia." Dear friends, the year that has passed since our last forum has been full of events and changes. In a way, we are witnessing accelerations of processes in the world economy that were previously developing mildly or even latently. These changes were clearly maturing slowly within the economy, but the turning point after which they became evident was the global economic crisis of 2008. It was not a contingent cyclical crisis, but a systemic crisis, a deep systemic crisis. Now, what does that mean? It means that the system itself was hit. Globalized neoliberalism could not withstand the shock and had to react in an atypical way. Remember the famous quantitative easing to keep the economy afloat. These timely actions made it possible to salvage what could be saved, to fill the gaps and move forward in some way, even though we could see the limits of these measures and the risks of new serious problems that are gradually emerging one after another right now. I'm thinking, for example, of inflation and other factors hindering growth and development. We may say that 2008 revealed the need for a profound change in the neoliberal model of development, while at the same time initiating a new economic system. What will this model look like? Will it be unique? I think we don't have the answers yet. Whoever is able to give them now would certainly be worthy of a Nobel Prize in economics. For now, we can only foreshadow some partial elements of the outline of the future economic model. And by this, I do not mean that neoliberalism and globalism will disappear. They certainly won't. But they are changing in nature. They are losing the monopoly position, which was undisputed just a few years ago. One of the most relevant trends of the new times, and which has been accelerating over the past 12 months, is the regionalization of globalization. On the very short terms, it responds to the need both to shorten production chains and to rebuild supply chains that are more neutral. We already talked about this in October last year, but now this trend is becoming more and more evident. What can the meaning of this regionalization of globalization be? It would claim to combine two simultaneous movements: the abandonment of globalization in its previous version, with its view of the world as one single market governed by converging and uniform rules and regulations, and at the same time the shift towards a segmentation of the world into geographic macro-regions. Within these regions, the tendency to create and develop uniform rules and regulations remains. In other words, within these vast territories, the economy and trade tend to be liberalized as much as possible, but protective systems of various kinds towards the outside world are erected. We can see, for example, the consolidation of the Atlantic pole, which mainly includes Western Europe and North America, with various additions such as Australia and Japan. We see the Chinese pole, highlighted by the One Belt, One Road project, or the New Silk Road. We can also see a pole around the Persian Gulf, with its own interests. And in this context, I would mention the role of the Gulf Cooperation Council. Then we have India with its nearly 1.5 billion people, and it is a center of economic gravitation that will soon become the world's second largest economic power after China. We see the increasing role of the Eurasian Economic Union, which in one way or another attracts the majority of former USSR countries. We see the expansion of regional cooperations in Latin America and in Africa. In this context, in recent months, we are witnessing the consolidation of various international bodies, among which the BRICS, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The BRICS has acquired a new potential for development. Between the preparation and the outcome of its last summit, held at the end of June 2022, we can see a noticeable difference. From a mere consultative organization, it has now become a platform of consultation of a new kind, with the potential to grow and with ambitions also in the field of trade and investments. While there was no talk of a BRICS enlargement before, now Argentina and Iran have made a formal application for membership. Saudi Arabia, Egypt and Turkey have already moved in this direction. But also Indonesia, Nigeria and Pakistan, and with certain reservation Mexico, are aspiring to join, so that the structure can bring together the top economic, political and demographic powers of global and regional reach outside of the Western context. Was this imaginable only a year ago? No. Can this development trend have an impact on economy and finance? Well, sure, especially if the many ideas and initiatives in these areas that emerged from the recent BRICS summit, including payment and investment mechanisms, will be followed through. Current events aimed at forming new global economic models are not rapid and certainly not linear. Even within meager regions, the contradictions and even fierce competitions are evident. Looking at the Western context, important diversities stand out. While the United States consider the fight against inflation, leading to the Federal Reserve's raising of interest rates as a priority, in Europe and Japan, where inflation has reached unprecedented levels in 4 decades, interest rates remain relatively low. The priority there is supporting the economic growth, particularly hit by sky-high commodity prices, especially energy and food. As a result, the dollar strengthens, but the pound, euro and yen fall, with direct consequences on other sectors of the economy. For example, relocations of factories and production facilities from Europe to North America are foreshadowed. In this simple description of the situation, one detail stands out. National selfishness is beginning to take precedence over the common interest. We can see this in the clash of interests in the dollar-euro pair, for example. Everyone is beginning to play their own game, not only the Western countries, but also China, India, the Arab countries, and many others. But the pessimistic view of a shattered and divided world is not without an alternative. We can emerge from the ongoing systemic crisis which started in 2008 with its ups and downs by accepting the multipolar world that is taking place. Without exceptional countries, without vassals or even colonies, and recognizing the interest and economic and geopolitical role of each country and groups of countries, without discrimination, without any exclusion. Absence of discrimination, however, does not mean absence of competition. On the contrary, competition should be supported, but it should be based on an equal footing and, I would add, within clear and defined market rules and regulations. This is the only way to overcome the current negative environment and the failing neoliberal economic model, and at the same time ensure security and prosperity for the planet. In this context, the role of Greater Eurasia, stretching from the Atlantic to the Pacific and the Indian Ocean, is crucial. By joining forces in this multipolar world, we can build a new human-centered economy where people and their interests are at the center. To achieve this goal, a common international strategy must be put into practice. We are here to propose one of the most effective tools of this strategy, namely economic and business diplomacy, which is capable of interpreting and representing the genuine needs of economic and social development for the benefit of people and the entire civil society. In this respect, the situation has not changed over the past year. The international business world, with its industrial, commercial, financial and economic structure, has the duty to try, despite today's difficulties, to unite and not to separate, to create and not to destroy, to bring wealth and prosperity and not poverty and desolation. Economic diplomacy has the power and duty to make the global political and geopolitical superstructure share the urgency of initiating the multipolar strategy to ensure the salvation of planet Earth and the security and prosperity of humanity. We have a duty to realistically present this perspective. Dialogue, the discussion of our mutual convictions, and the exchange of ideas can contribute to the development of concrete proposals to initiate a harmonious economic development respectful of the environment of a cultural diversity, capable of reducing, if not eliminating, the outrageous social inequalities that affect all of our planet. According to the World Inequality Report of 2022, 30% of the world population benefits of 22% of the total income and 76% of the total wealth of our planet. Just as it happened 100 years ago, Baku is the ideal place to develop our dialogue in a fruitful and multipolar way among free people from countries that are proud of their independence. Azerbaijan has a national identity that goes beyond purely economic aspects. Its rich culture, a balanced and harmonious mixture of ethnic and religious identities, has made it a globally appreciated model of multiculturalism. By the same token, it is appreciated for its effort to protect its multicultural, tangible and intangible heritage, which is of strategic importance to Azerbaijan's citizens and for all international relations. The Republic of Azerbaijan and UNESCO in the year 2000 celebrated the 1,300 years of history of the Book of Dede Korkut, a heroic tale of the Oghuz people. Old storyteller Dede Korkut is a respected sage. He is authoritative and he is heard by all. When he is singing, he spreads feelings of courage, independence and pride, and at the same time of tolerance, moderation and social solidarity. The expression of these values is the famous Hamza, the most important work by Nizami Janjevi, who Goethe called the poet of all times and of all peoples. Currently, he is considered to be one of the most important representatives of the world's poetic and philosophical thought. Hence, my deep conviction that our forum will be able to outline realistic and constructive perspectives for economic and social development for the benefit of humanity and our planet. Thank you for your attention and have a good conference.
Grazie.
Thank you very much to Professor Antonio Fallico, who highlighted not only the geopolitical perspective by mentioning a changing world that is going towards multipolarity with no exceptional controls, without no vassals, but thank you also for the humanistic perspective that you're always able to add to macroeconomic considerations. You mentioned important cultural figures of this country, the contribution of some Azerbaijani partisans to the fight against Nazi fascism in Italy, and this reminds us how important it is to look at what is happening today, remembering what happened in the past. This fosters mutual understanding, but it also helps shaping a very ambitious project at these difficult times. It is difficult and ambitious, but at the same time it is necessary and I'd say feasible. Now we've concluded the introduction of this first part of our forum. Now we are going to start with the first special session.